What is up, guys? This is Seth Keeping It Real. Let me give you all the reasons you should not be subscribed to this channel. Reason number one, because you want Amazon FBA training. Now, post-bankruptcy, I sold on Amazon to go from selling furniture from my garage just to afford groceries to getting back on my feet financially again. But this channel will no longer teach Amazon FBA. Reason number two, because you're looking for a bunch of hyped up motivation. Now, sure, I'll provide motivation as I go, but this is not a motivational channel. It is something far more. Reason number three, because the Bible or Jesus offend you. Now, you definitely do not need to be a Jesus follower to get a ton of value out of this channel, but I must warn you, I will talk about Jesus a lot because he changed my life. He is my king, and I owe him everything. Reason number four, you should not be subscribed to this channel because you have no interest in making a lot of money while changing lives. How, you might ask? I'll get to that in a minute. But first, I want to tell you about one of the biggest turning points of my life. I had built arguably the most trusted Amazon FBA coaching company in the world off of a single dime. In fact, at one point, my company, just one dime, would have been valued at around $50 million. I had trained over 10,000 entrepreneurs, dozens of whom became multi-millionaires. And I consulted for Forever 21, BMW, Amazon flew me to their headquarters to consult with me. And then I lost it all in COVID. We could not maintain the cost of over 300 staff. I even poured my personal assets into the company, trying to keep it going. But when it crashed and burned, I was left with nothing, not even an owned home and no car. When I was filling out the forms for personal bankruptcy, there was this phrase or this statement that says, enter amount of cash on hand. Well, I had no cash. My wallet was empty. And I was about to write $0 when my eyes fell on a dime sitting on my desk. So I wrote 10 cents. I was back to just one dime. This was my asset, a single dime. And in that moment, I suddenly had extreme clarity. I knew exactly what I had to do. Exactly 20 years ago from today, I graduated from the Master's Seminary in Southern California. And during the vast majority of those 20 years, I've either been in full-time ministry or full-time business. And every single man I have met in these last 2 decades who loves Jesus wants to do two things. They want to create wealth and they want to help people. And this creates a real problem in American culture because, like sex, modern culture tends to treat money as gross or as God. The religious treats money as gross. The materialist treats money as God. And both paths lead to incredible suffering. If you want to make a lot of money, you either sell your soul for a 9-to-5, that's often more like a 5-to-9, or you build a business. And there's this underlying mentality that if you go into business, well, you have to be greedy and ruthless. And then if you go into ministry, you must somehow be more spiritual and you need to be financially broke. But the same God who calls us to steward our spiritual gifts also calls us to steward our finances. What kind of Christian are we if we spend our entire life discipling people to walk with Jesus, but then on Judgment Day, we show up with the same dime Jesus gave us at the beginning of our journey. With only a dime and the grace of God to my name, I realized in that moment, as I looked at the dime on my desk, that I could start fresh. I could do whatever I wanted to do. And as I stared at the dime on my desk, I had an absolute epiphany. I will help men of faith, men who love Jesus, build financial wealth for them and their families while they help people along the way. Okay, but how? How will I do this? Become a financial advisor? Become a life coach? Return to Amazon FBA? And then God did something. He reminded me what I had successfully done over the last 10 years, built an 8-figure company selling knowledge. And that knowledge had changed thousands of lives. And that is when I knew. I will teach men how to do what I have done. I will teach them how to turn their expertise into a course, sell it for a lot of money while changing lives. And I will call it Craftsmen, in memory of the ultimate carpenter. In the last 27 years of business and ministry, even going back before I went to seminary, I have yet to meet a single man who loves Jesus, who did not have knowledge, at least in some area, that people will not pay good money for. For example, if you turned your knowledge on a specific topic into a course, and you sold that course for only $1,000, and keep in mind, that is 0.00024% of the people in this world, out of 8.1 billion people, which is 1,000 people. If you sold your course for $1,000 to just 1,000 people who purchased your course, you would make $1 million. And if in the process of making money, you were changing people's lives, training them in ways that changes how they live and helps them in a way that will matter 9,000 years from now, then you just experienced something beyond fulfilling. This is the intersection of business and ministry. And today, I'm in the process of building a cohort of men of faith, showing them how to do 3 things. Number 1, they find their area of expertise that has a strong market demand. Number 2, they take that knowledge and they turn it into a course. And number 3, they sell it, making a lot of money while impacting people. What's interesting is I did not run a single ad. I did not build a single marketing campaign. And to date, just sharing this in a couple places and in a website, I already have received 20 applications. In fact, I haven't even shared this on YouTube yet until today. A few nights ago, I met with an applicant for Craftsmen. He's a dad with 3 kids, and he said something that really struck me. He said, Seth, when I was a youth pastor at a small church, I was paid $2,000 a month. Now, I figured it's ministry, so I'm supposed to be broke, and my wife will just work forever. So let me get this straight. Forget about your wife being able to be there for your kids. Forget about creating financial margin to invest in your own family, and accept that you and your wife are going to stress about money for the rest of your marriage, because clearly that's what a good and kind God wants for you. This idea that if you follow Jesus, you are doomed to a life of scraping for money is pervasive in the Christian culture. And that idea that how you manage your money doesn't matter to God is even worse. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not proposing the name it, claim it. If you're not wealthy, then you're not in God's will. The social, what's it called? The abundance gospel, the idea that the gospel equals physical wealth, because there are seasons in your life where God may want you to be broke. Happened to me because he's working on something in your heart. But if the God we serve delights in us being broke, if that is his goal and he doesn't care about the money he's entrusted us to, which flies in the face of the parable of the talents in Matthew 25, if that's the kind of God we serve, why would anyone want to follow him? And why on earth did God call Abraham a friend of God, James 2:23? The same man who built his own wealth with livestock, silver, and gold. He was phenomenally rich. Why does the Old Testament portray Isaac, Abraham's son, a man who also had great wealth, as someone who honored God? Why did God call King David a man after his own heart, yet also he was a man who possessed considerable wealth and resources? Or King Solomon, who's the equivalent to a billionaire today? Or Job, a man with a huge amount of wealth? What about Joseph of Arimathea, a very wealthy member of the Sanhedrin, who provided his own newly cut tomb for Jesus' burial, along with Nicodemus, another very wealthy man who helped him? Or what about Lydia of Thyatira, a successful businesswoman? She dealt in purple cloth, and she generously offered hospitality to Paul and his companions. Now, yes, I agree. There are plenty of penniless people throughout Scripture who loved God as well. And I'm not implying that seeking God guarantees financial wealth. But the idea that ministry means you're doomed to a life of poverty is both ridiculous and it is irresponsible. I mean, someone has to pay for the missionaries to go preach the gospel. Someone has to pay for the pastors to show up on Sunday and to do counseling and show up to do weddings and funerals week after week after week. Someone had to go out and do business and make money, make value to receive money in return. Now, at this point, someone's going to object. They're going to go, Seth, every follower of Jesus is called to live by faith, no matter how much money they make. Let me say I agree. But to use living by faith as a cover for sloppy and lazy financial stewardship is a slap in the face of God who calls us to glorify him in everything we do. Everything from pooping on the toilet to running a race to proposing to your spouse to raising kids to how you spend your dime. And you and I are as responsible before God for what we do with a physical dime as we are for what we do with our spiritual gifts. That means that how you use the physical cash in your pocket matters to God. How you handle his wealth matters to God. Growing the money God blessed you with versus spending it impulsively matters to God. In fact, Jesus taught about money more than heaven and hell combined. Because your money, it may not last for eternity, but how you handle it will. So as I filed bankruptcy and I looked at that dime on my desk, I suddenly knew exactly what to do. I will use all of my experiences, from my greatest wins to my most embarrassing failures, from my moments of victory to my moments of tears, to teach men of God how to make a lot of money while investing in people in a way that will last for all eternity. And starting today, this is why this channel exists. And if this does not resonate with your heart, please unsubscribe. I don't want to waste your time. But if this is you, click the link in the description and pin comment below, and I will send you regular high-value content. But I must give you a warning. You might hear from me daily. So only do this if you are hungry to learn how to turn your expertise into a course, sell it to make a lot of money while changing lives. Click the link below.